this is when you kind of like watch movies or TV shows and you kind of go, it feels kind of soap opera like. That's what that is.
Yeah.
It's that kind of like, I'm just saying stuff, but it doesn't feel connected to anything real. Like, is it honest? Do I actually feel like this is really happening? And that's going to come from practicing. So if you don't practice, this is what happens. What should it feel like? It should feel like what we're doing right now.
Yeah.
And when you think about the scene, how it was going between you two, was there a real, and this would go for you as well, did it feel like there was a real communication going on with you? You didn't know what you were going to hear. You didn't know what you were going to say. You didn't know what was going to happen in the scene. The same way what we're doing right now. That's what we're going for. That's the goal for.
Yeah.
Now, how do we do that? That's the trick, is that's why we practice. That's the executing of the scene. Now, it gets really tricky because once you're watching to see if you're doing this, then you're not in the scene.
Yeah.
That's why it's so difficult, is you can't get caught watching and doing at the same time.
Yeah.
So you may have been kind of, sometimes it's kind of like in Don Richardson's book. Did you read the whole book?
No.
You have the book, though, right?
Yeah, I do.
So you should read the book. But he talks about this thing where he's got the pluses and the minuses. The pluses are when you're in the scene, the minuses when you fall out. You may have felt like there are some pluses in the scene where you're in it, and then there's little gaps where either you're not paying attention, your mind wanders, or you're watching yourself to see how it's going.
Yeah.
Those are all the minuses. The goal is to get to a place where obviously, to develop those minuses into pluses.
Yeah.
So, did you feel moments when, let me start with, did you feel moments when you fell out? Like you didn't feel like it was like real?
Yeah, and it was mainly because I kept having to look back at the paper because I didn't remember it. So I felt like every time I went to go read out of the corner of my eye, I completely went out of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What is your emotion in the scene?
Mainly shock, I think we decided on.
Well, in the very beginning, because you lost your job, right?
Yeah, and I'm trying to keep it together.
Okay. So if it's shock, then you have to have a lot of shock, and your objective is to keep it together, which means you're trying really hard to keep it together. It's really difficult for you to do that. That's what's driving you to say the lines. If I have shock going, and I'm thinking I got to just try and keep it together. Keep it together. That's what drives me to say what I say.
Yeah.
It's not a presentation of my words. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So why is that not happening?
Make emotion in the objective.
So how does one play an objective? It's a phrase that you repeat over and over in your brain, that you keep thinking, and it hooks you into the scene. If you don't do this, what happens is you start thinking about the words you're saying instead, and then you start playing the words. And that's when you get that sort of fake vibe.
Yeah.
Remember that the audience doesn't listen to what you say, they watch the behavior. So to rely on the words to tell our story is a terrible move.
Yeah.
Furthermore, the lines do not dictate behavior at all.
Yeah.
So when you're in the scene, you shouldn't be thinking about, how I deal with this job, or I got to make sure that she understands, or no, all I'm thinking is I'm about to lose it and I'm trying not to. That's it. That's the beauty of the technique, is it gives you one thing to play so you don't start getting confused and overanalyzing. If you start falling into that trap of overanalyzing stuff, it kills the fun. But these are all new lessons. This is a brand new thing. This whole concept of playing an emotion, playing an objective. What does it feel like to have an objective in conflict to the emotion? You need to think a little bit about, well, what does to keep it together feel like? Do you know what that feels like?
Yeah.
You do? What does it feel like?
I mean that you kind of can't sit still.
Yeah, can't sit still. You want to scream, but you're trying not to. It's like when you're in traffic. I use that example all the time in LA on the 405, and you're stuck and you're late, and you're going, oh my God, I'm going to lose it. Trying not to.
Yeah.
Yes? Is that to not lose it?
Yeah.
Were you playing that?
No.
No. So, please hear this. If you do not play your objective that you've selected,
Mhm.
you will collude with the lines. You will go along with the way the lines are written, and you will not have a conflict to play, and then it's going to look like a soap opera.
Yeah.
You have to play the objective in contrast to the emotion. In contrast, even more so, to the lines.